Hello, you wonderful Life Path 1 person, you. Welcome to your 2023 A Year Ahead Numerology Life Path reading with me, Raphael from Reydiant Reality. It is an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. I have to say a massive thank you to all of you who supported my work throughout 2022. I know so many of you came back to these readings month by month, every 3 months, every 6 months to check in, and the feedback was absolutely amazing and it was really heartfelt, beautiful. So I just want to say a massive thank you so much. I really hope that these serve you just as well in this year ahead and that it makes it the best year that you can have. With that said, I would like to bless my decks of cards and this reading with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity and abundance. And I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise and they help you on your path to your highest vibrational good. So, Life Path 1. This is for you. So as always, I've got my trusty notes here. All right, so lots to talk about. So if you are a Life Path 1, the way that this year is going to speak to your personal number is like this. These are some of the energies, trends and themes that you're likely to be experiencing over the course of the year. Now, obviously the year itself is a 7-year, so you can check out that video. I'm going to put a link in the description and one of those little floaty things. But this year for you, this can be a year of advancement. It can really provide you, especially if you're willing to go deep, if you're willing to really dig into and get into what this really is about for you, if you're ready, should I say, to scratch beyond the surface, right? So none of this surface level stuff this year, it's not going to cut it, right? And as a Life Path 1, you are prone to kind of rushing ahead or, leaving things half done, etc. That energy is like this year, you can't do that, right? You're going to have to learn. Maybe this is the year that you learn staying power, that you learn to sit still long enough to hear the message, that you learn to stay in one place long enough so that you can extract the exquisite goodness out of whatever it is that you're trying to do. This is also it's a really good year for you to get clear on what your desires are, but also what your desire is to learn about. Lean into that, right? So whatever you feel pulled or called to learn, to really take on like new understandings or new ways of interpreting a certain area of your life, lean into that. This is a great year for some kind of study, for some kind of hard work. It's also a year for slow, steady increase through hard work and focus. You will definitely see rewards this year for your hard effort and hard graft. If you have that ability to stay in one place long enough, you will see results this year. It's guaranteed. Allowing yourself to slow down, pay attention to the details this year. All right. Life Path 1 tends to be very big, broad picture, the big overview. Where's it going? What are the broad brush strokes? All of that. That's wonderful. But it needs to be more than that this year. You have to pay attention to the detail, both with yourself and with other people. And other people are definitely going to be a part of this for you this year. All right. So that's really interesting. Being honest and upfront about what you want, both with yourself and with other people. This is going to be really, really important because as much as Life Path 1 tends to have a lot of integrity anyway, but this year you're going to really be held to it. So you will have to show up, right? It's not going to be a case of do as I say. It's going to have to be a case of do as I do. This is also for some of you as well. This could be not so much, well, it could be a lonely year, but it's, which is an energy that you're kind of used to anyway. But it could also be a year where your, known sort of eccentricity puts you further ahead of people. And so you're having to find a way to manage between this juxtaposition of working with others and forging your own path. I will say here, what I've got here as well is you get to where you're going on your own steam this year, and also through selecting the very best of the right others to help you achieve your goals, right? So Life Path 1 will help anybody. They will connect with anyone and everyone, because Life Path 1, the energy of 1 is a potentiate. All right. So what it does is it amplifies everything else that it's attached to. Anyone or anything that gets privy to your energy and your connection tends to be amplified. This year, you are amplifying yourself. And the way that you do this is by really using your own power, but more importantly, whatever or whoever you connect to, they have to be right. This is the year where, like, within an inch of their fucking lives, if you are connecting with someone, you vet them this year. Right, I'm getting really serious about this because when I was writing it, it was like really coming through, and as I'm talking about it, I got this I get my little goosebump shivers. I love those moments because that's the universe letting me know you're on the money. This is where you need to lean into. So this year, whoever you collaborate with, you need to be really, really clear that it's them. All right, now, and then finally, being willing to learn, to adapt, and to grow, and to give yourself and others a chance to come through. All right, so like this is a year where really the big message is you got to slow down. Now, in terms of money and finances can do really, really well this year, providing you're diligent and also you're looking at what you're spending and more importantly why. Like, this is not a year to just kind of splash the cash. You have to allocate your money. Why am I spending this? What is it getting me? What is it going to provide for me? Money can increase for you if you're working hard and patiently. It's also a year for you to work hard at the small level, but hold to the big vision, right? So this year you've got to pay attention to the small things that add up to the big things. When it comes to love, this might be a little bit more challenging, and one of the reasons for this could be you're so focused on work that you might miss opportunities to connect. So if you're single and you're wanting to mingle, you're wanting to connect with others, you have to sort of be still and observational enough to kind of notice that actually somebody might really be into you. Take invites to parties, especially luxury events, anything that's got that like I look like, smell like money. Anything that's got that kind of, yes, go to everything, right? Go to the cookout and the barbecue just as good as you would go to, turn up at that luxury event, absolutely. But where you are invited to those things that have an air of luxury or importance about them, show up for that stuff. Lean into that because that's likely to be where you're potentially finding a significant other this year. And as well as it's likely as well that if you are connecting with someone, they're probably going to be older than you. Also, if you are partnered, this is a year for you and your partner to have your own goals and missions, but to find out where they meet in the middle so that you can honor each other's goals and spur each other on. This is about knowing what to hand over to your partner and what to accept from your partner. This year, you've got to be really hot on this stuff as well. And also, there should be time for you to be who you are apart. All right, so if you know that your friends don't necessarily mix and match, don't force it. This is not a year for that. This is a year to say, okay, you know what, this is me and I am me within the confines on the construct of this relationship. That is you and that is you and you, how you are in the confines and the constructs of this relationship. All right, it's about finding symbiosis rather than living in each other's pockets. For your warnings, be mindful this year of overdoing it, overspending, overindulging, any form of substances, alcohol, drugs, food, sugar, my bad. Do you know what I mean? Be mindful of large purchases and overextending it when it comes to money. So if if you've got plans to buy a house this year, go for it, right? If you feel like you're ready and this is your time, absolutely go for it. If you have to choose between, I could have the house that would absolutely serve me and it's the one that I wanted anyway, but now that I've seen for this extra 25k, I can have 7 bedrooms and don't do it. All right, go with this year is more about the slow, steady growth rather than the big sort of shablam. Okay. And then finally, when it comes to work, give it everything you have. Do the work, show up, be 100% committed to getting 1% better every single day. All right, that's one of those coaching aphorisms, but this really is the year to focus on it that way. Be fair in all of your business dealings, in all of the things where you have to work with, alongside, or collaborate with others. Be really fair in your dealings. The more so you are, the more respect you will gain, and also the more kudos from the upstairs department. When it comes to what you do now, will accrue blessings or burdens for later. All right, so when it comes to that whole professional sphere, that's how you have to approach things. Also, the final message that I have for you in terms of my notes is don't be too altruistic. All right, yes, be a good person. Yes, do things right. It's a 7 years, so you've got to be in that integrity. But when you start sort of overextending or getting into that martyrdom or that, what's the word? Yeah, martyrdom or self-sacrificing. It's like, oh, you know, you can have the, you know, if you're starting to stack it where, you know, you're giving more away than you're actually getting, you're going to be out of alignment this year and it's not going to serve you. All right, so let's get into your cards for the year ahead. So we start the year with a Mercury retrograde, so Mercury will retrograde in the sign of Capricorn. We also start the year with Mars retrograde in the sign of Gemini. Now, both of these things happen in right at the end of 2022. Mars will have been retrograde for a while at this point. On the 12th, let's say the 13th of January, Mars will go direct. We will feel that, trust me. And then on the 18th, so literally like less than a week later, Mercury will go direct in the sign of Capricorn. So for January, what do you have? So you're going to get one destiny card, one direction card per month. And remember, this first card out kind of sets the tone for the year ahead. All right, so we have, give us a good one. Okay. So we've got the Chariot card. All right, so this basically says to me, this was very likely to be a year where you are traveling. There's going to be a lot of change. There's going to be a lot of movement. There is going to be a lot of advancement that's happening for you over the course of this year. However, what is the message behind the Chariot card? Through your sheer force of will, you are going to have to direct this, and you are going to have to, and it's interesting as well, because this card isn't very slow, right? The Chariot card is not a slow card, but I've been telling you, right, got to slow down. In order to learn how to ride a chariot, they would have had to have practiced. And what happens when you're practicing? You go slow. All right, so use that, but just know that the victory, the success, the possibly even abundance that you want is absolutely there, but it's out there in the world. This behind the scenes, kind of hiding behind the curtain, or what's the other thing? Like, that stuff is just not going to cut it this year, right? The stuff that you want, the things that you desire, the things that you need, they're out there in the world. And so you have to get out there in the world to grab those things. So for your direction card, how to typify this, or should we say how to clarify on it. And also for January, here's a little secret, right? As a life path 1, there's only really one other number that has maybe not more, but as much sort of physical or dynamic energy as you. And that is the life path number 5, right? It's something that you guys have in common. 3, yes, but 3's a bit more like la la la. Whereas 5 and 1, they're a bit more gritty with it. Although this is going to be a slow start to the year, as a life path 1, you can explode into this year, but I don't want you to waste your efforts. They have to be focused, right? So as you come into the year, January is basically saying from the offset, you're going to be planning trips. You're going to be talking about, movement to different places, different spaces. There's possibly going to be reasons for you to travel that you don't even sort of see coming, right? You have the ability as a life path 1 to use that projectile force to come into this year strong, right? Everybody else is going to come into the year kind of like languishing because of the 2 retrogrades that are taking place. You won't be doing that. You will be hitting the ground running. But remember, when you're in a race, you don't just give everything that you have right up front. You've got to save a little bit for the rest of the journey. For your clarifier, you have the 2 of Swords. So this, first things first, this is a really powerful month for intuitive capabilities. It's also very likely to be a month where you really are starting to understand what you haven't seen in certain people, certain spaces, certain spheres. This is going to see you really uncovering, right, okay, that needs to go, this person's out, It's like you're putting everything into some sort of category right here out of the gate in January. And I think this is in response to what you know is or isn't working at this time. So beautiful. All right, as we come into February, you have the High Priestess. So here's where this gets really interesting, right? The High Priestess coupled with the Two of Swords literally represents a psychic, a true psychic at that, like somebody who really has the gift, you know, not somebody that's like, you get my point. This it can also represent very psychic situations. For some of you, there's going to be a place, and I do feel like it'll be a place, it won't be a person. There's going to be a place in the world that is calling you, that you will have a really strong pull to. You might not be able to understand why. You might just, you know, you wake up, you're thinking about this place. You go to sleep, you're thinking about this place. That is your soul telling you that you need to go and visit this place. And it's uncovering, or it's likely to become sort of really prominent or known here in February. This is also likely to be a time where some secret or something that you weren't aware of is now revealed. It's like you're seeing it for what it actually is, or what it, do you know what I mean? So for February, you have, as a clarifying card, look at that, you've got the Justice card. Now this is really interesting to me for a few reasons, but the main one is literally 3 of those cards, and I use completely different decks, I might add. These 3 cards literally came up in a reading that I performed today. So it's just really insane that it's coming up. Now, as this is relating to the month of February, the outside is coming in and the inside is coming out. This is, for some of you, this can be like a secret commitment that you're making to a loved one, especially if you're single. This could be like, maybe you start dating somebody that you don't really want to talk about, that you don't want anyone to know. It could also be that you're signing a contract of some sort that you are doing behind the scenes. It's like nobody is privy to this. They won't know until you want them to know. They won't have any clue what's going on until you kind of drop the bombshell and say, by the way, this has happened, right? So this is really powerful stuff. I also want to say to you as well, trust your gut when it comes to any form of collaboration, any form of connection. If you're in, be in. If you're out, just say so, right? You've got to trust your gut. January and February, big stuff going on. For those of you that are thinking or considering moving abroad, February is like, looks like it's where you're kind of finalizing those plans. For March, you have the Temperance card. Okay, so this is really nice. The Temperance card. Now, remember, March is a packed month, right? There's so much going on in March. We are going to have Pluto will be moving signs out of the sign of Capricorn into Aquarius. It's just going to dip its toes, you know, have a little rummage around, see how it feels, and then it will come back into Capricorn until 2024. But you're going to feel this, right? Then on top of that, Saturn will be moving into the sign of Pisces. Big deal, right? On top of that, as if that wasn't enough, Mars will be moving out of the sign of Gemini, where it's been for like the last 7-8 months at this point, into the sign of Cancer, which, although it doesn't do well in Cancer, because it's had, you know, it's been in Gemini where it also doesn't do so great, and hasn't had really any clear direction or focus, we're going to feel that shift. And I actually think it's going to be a good thing, because at that point, Mars will be like, well, thank fuck for that. I'm out of the retrograde. I'm out of that sign. I can just move on and do my thing. All right. If you haven't got them, your 2023 year ahead sign videos are up and out there for your purchasing pleasure. You can get that on the link in the description box below. There'll also be one of those things that's floating above my head somewhere as well. All right. So look out for those. If you want to find out how they speak to your sign, you're getting the astrological considerations. You're getting a PDF, which is like 19 pages long and more on some of them. You're also getting the month by month breakdown, plus other videos and content that I'm not putting out on any of my other platforms. So if you want to get those, you can get that on the link in the description. So March, big month for you. March is going to be a month of alignment. This is where you really are stepping into not only your personal power, but it's like you're feeling the wind behind you, right? This is that moment where it's like it's no longer blowing in your face and kind of pushing you back. This is where you're going to feel like, okay, something's changing here. I can feel that shift that is moving into support me in some way. And you've got this, look, right, with the Ace of Cups. March is going to be a fantastic month. Yes, it will be intense because there's a lot of big energy shifts and changes going on, but March for you looks absolutely wonderful. And I think that this is going to be a moment where something you've been pushing for, something you've been working for, working really hard on, this is where it really starts to take off. So what you've been doing up until now, it might feel like, okay, well, I've been really giving it my all. I've been, really pushing. It hasn't quite taken off. Am I doing it right? Should I stop? And then bam, all of a sudden March hits and you're like, oh yeah, this is working. All right, March is going to be a fantastic month. Now, as we come into April, this little toggle here, we're going to have the first of the eclipses for the next year and a half in the sign of Aries. This is going to be a North Node eclipse, a North Node new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Aries. This is a big deal for all of us because this is going to show us, pay attention to this eclipse because it's going to show us what we're getting more of over the next year and a half when the nodes fully switch in. So between now and 2024, this is where you're really going to start to, April will be where you start to understand what the rest of this year and the following year are going to bring you. For April, we have we've got the Fool card. Of course we do. New things, new places, new people, a brand new cycle is starting for you, right? The eclipse is clearly doing that for you as well. And it's really interesting because obviously Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So you have, not a total, but it's not an overlap. It is kind of like a similarity, but they're not one in the same, right? But look at that, you've got that kind of, yeah, for me, this is just really exciting. Now, like I said, new things, new people, new places, new energies are making themselves known and available to you at this time. It also suggests that you're forging ahead with something that that is really, it's taking you in a different sort of direction. Now, January to March, that's the first quarter of the year done. As you come into the second quarter of the year, I think as strong as your start to the year is, I think this is where you really are getting a second wind. For clarity on that, you've got the Seven of Swords. So around this time, there's a few things going on. For those of you that are thinking about creating a physical product, this could be a really good time for, getting that sort of in the works or in the mix. Because it is the Seven of Swords, we do have to consider what's going on here. This may be a time of deception. Look out for lies, look out for deceit. If there are new people coming in that want to work with you and want to collaborate with you or, want to go into business with you or whatever, remember what I said in just the notes before we even got into the cards. You vet them to within an inch of their lives, all right? You need to make sure that these people are showing up in their integrity because if they're not, you don't want them. For May, we've got a full moon lunar eclipse in the sign of Scorpio. As if that wasn't enough, we also have Mercury going retrograde in the sign of Taurus. So this is going to be an interesting month as well. And for this, we've got the Hanged Man, right? So this is not a month to make any decisions or moves. It looks like there are likely to be some delays around this time as well. May is probably going to put some of your plans on hold. And it's not because the universe doesn't want you to succeed. It's not because anything wants to stop you or stop you from getting ahead. It's about really soaking up the wetness and the mop. And kind of saying, right, okay, what needs to go here and what actually gets privy to me, my energy, my money, my resources, my whatever it might be. This is a time for you to be really very selective, right? April and May. The other thing as well, because like I said, there's lots of really great energy happening in May. I genuinely believe that. April, should I say. But you're just going to have to be really selective about what you're connecting to. May, however, is a month where you just take it to ground. Slow down, take a minute, consider, do I want this? Do I want this? Does it feel like the right connection? Whatever it might be. To clarify on that, look at this. You've got the 10 of Pentacles. So if you're buying a home, which may be very possible for some of you, this is very likely to be a time where if you are buying a home, it looks like it's going ahead, but there are delays here. There's things where it's like maybe you're waiting for paperwork, maybe you're waiting for documentation. This is actually, if you are buying a home or you're making some kind of big purchase, when the delays start to hit, go back in for a second viewing, right? If it's, let's say, a car that you're buying, you know, go for a second test drive. If it's a home that you're buying, go and have another look around. Take I think they call them surveyors. Take a surveyor to, you know, really have a look at the place. If you're like me, bring your damn cards and, you know, chuck one down to see is this the place, right? You know, when I'm choosing a new home or anything, there are certain things that I will obviously call into because I got to spend my time there. Now, what it also suggests as well is there could be a delay with some kind of money, finances, or resources at this time. So just be mindful of that. And like I said, this is not a year to overextend. When it comes to June, you have the Devil card. Okay, so look, if you haven't seen them, you probably won't understand this, but if you did see the year ahead videos, I talked about this, right? The middle sort of 2 quarters of the year, this looks to be where we're getting the challenges this year. All right, now for you personally, you've got the Devil card. If you're convincing yourself there's only one way to do something, it has to be this, it has to be this time, it has to da-da-da-da-da-da, it's like you're holding to an idea so rigidly that you can't see that there is actually a better way to do this, or there's an easier way to get what it is that you desire. Just be mindful of that. You've got this with the Page of Wands. So for some of you, it looks like you are traveling for pleasure. Now, if that is the case, go have an absolute blast. I think a lot of you will. One thing that I do want you to be mindful of though is if you are partaking in any form of adult sweeties and you happen to be in a different country to your own, if you don't know the law, be very careful around that sort of thing because it could really bite you in the butt later. Now, when it comes to the Page of Wands as well, I actually really like this, and the reason I say this is I kind of feel like it's amplifying your presence in some way, but it might also attract some unwanted attention. Do you know what I mean? Like, so you're like, oh, this is great. And then you're like, that bit's not so great. So just be mindful of that. Again, it looks to me like for you guys this year, it's going to be about the interpersonal stuff. It's the people that you connect with that you've got to be really mindful of. For July, you have the Hierophant card. So interacting with a larger institution, I will say as well, on the wider world stage, April is going to be a very interesting month. And the reason I say this is, I think this is going to be a moment at which we are coming to realize that about what? That, you know, we the people might come to realize, we've been lied to about that. In July, and the reason I say this, because obviously July we've got the Hierophant card, the larger institutions, establishments, the oligarchs, the big sort of corporate structures will be very much in the news at this point. You know, they always are in some regard, but more so in July. And, you know, you need to just make sure that look at this, right? So my money is on July. We are likely to see somebody going to jail. It's a potential, right? On the wider world stage, I wouldn't be surprised if we're seeing a politician, probably never a monarch, but do you know what I mean? Like somebody with that kind of weight. It may even be a corporate person. Now, on a more personal level, for a lot of you, this is a rededication of faith. Maybe you are joining some form of I say new. Maybe you're joining a religion, or you're making that more of part of your practice. So this could literally be an actual initiation. It could also be something like, like here in the UK, we have knighthood. Like that's like one of the most, coveted best things that you can have. So it could be something like that. But for a lot of people, I feel like this is initiation into a new faith. And it's really interesting because June looks like a purging, whereas July looks like, something new is coming into being. It looks like as well. So if you've got delays here on that house in May, July is probably the time where you're signing the contract and it finally goes ahead. For August, you have the Lovers card. If you are single and ready to mingle, August will bring you love. I almost have literally no doubts about this, just for a few reasons. But yeah, the Lovers card, right? Love, relationships, partnerships are going to be very much on your mind. For those of you that are already partnered, married, or in long-term commitments, it does look like you and your significant other will be very much your focus at that point, right? So you've been doing your own thing for a lot of this year, whereas August you might say, you know what, this needs to be more of a priority for both of us. To clarify on that, you've got the King of Wands. So an Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius person could be your significant other if you're looking for one. It also suggests as well, for those of you that are maybe dating, especially those of you that have been dating sort of in secret or behind closed doors, this might be a time where you're sort of sharing that with the world to say, yes, we're an item, or you know what, we're engaged, or do you know what I mean? Like there's something here where you're revealing this to the world. I will say as well, it looks like for some of you, there may be options. You might be choosing between one or two people. For some of you, maybe this is somebody that says to you, look, you know what, my relationship has come to an end. I felt like it's you for a long time. I want to, you know, make this real. For September, Mercury will be doing its last not the last retrograde of the year actually, because that will be in December, but it will be doing its last big sort of, you know, one sign retrograde, let's say, in September, and that will be in the sign of Virgo. For this, you have the Judgment card. Interesting to have a retrograde energy with a card that represents a blast from the past. I would not be surprised if persons and things from your past are showing up. You've got this with the Five of Cups. So for a select few of you, this could be literally, so remember the Five of Cups is a card of loss and mourning at times. So it wouldn't be a surprise to me if at this moment, some of you are releasing an idea. Maybe some of you are ending a relationship. This will be specifically for those of you that have been in really long-term relationships. For a select few of you, this might be a time where you're letting that go. For others, this might be an idea that you kind of feel, you know what, I gave it my best shot. I've been doing this for a really long time, and now I have to kind of lay it to rest and say, okay, you know what, it's just not the right time. For October, it's like you're rethinking an idea, retrograde, you're rethinking an idea or a path of some sort, and it's like, okay, as much as it's going to hurt to let this go, it actually feels like the best thing for me. In October, we're going to have two eclipses. You're going to have an eclipse in Libra, new moon solar eclipse, and you're also going to have a Taurus eclipse as well. So March and October, these are the months to really kind of keep an eye out. All right, for October, you have the Hermit card. This would be a really good time to take a personal retreat. This would also be a really good time to take some time out from people, places, things, situations. You know, if you could maybe do a week, 10 days, 14 days would be even, you know, even better in an ideal world. If that's not possible, do a long weekend. Even for those of you that are partnered, married, or in long-term commitments, this is a 7-year. You have to find time. I don't care how long you've been with your partner. I don't care how many people, you know, depend on you, rely on you, whatever. It's really, really important. And I've said this across the board for everybody. We're in a 7-year, and it's going to be so important to have at least one solid weekend, right? A stretch of time where you're not your title, you're not wife, husband, dad, mum, daughter, you're not any of that stuff. You're just you, right? And so your month for that is October. Take some time out. This is going to be a really powerful time of soul searching at this moment in time as well. And you've got this with the Six of Wands. So it does look like a lot of you have heard Rafi and you're taking some time out. You're going out on your travels in some way, which is great. What this also suggests to me as well is this, for a lot of you, this isn't just going to be like an inward journey, it will be an outward one. It also, I mean, because it's the Hermit card with the Six of Wands, that's really nice. Like this is, so whatever you're letting go of here in September, it's well and truly replaced with something much better, much brighter for you in the month of October. Really, like, that's a game of two halves, right? So September is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm having to let this thing or this person or whatever go. And then in October, it's like, wow, look at what's just shown up. It's like you're making space in September for whatever's coming up in October. For November, you've got the Star card. Hope, optimism, joy, community even. I love this for you, right? Because whatever's showing up in October, it really starts to grow and to permeate all of the rest of your life here in November. You will be feeling this powerfully, strongly. It's going to be wonderful. And you've got this with the 10 of Wands for some of you. So if you are planning an international move, November is likely to be the time that you're doing it. I would not be surprised if that's what some of you are doing. If some of you are ready, it's just kind of like, you know what? I've done what I need to do in the place that I'm in. It's time for me to go elsewhere. And some of you are not shy about letting people know this, right? It's like you're going to be, out there on the gram like, oh, hey, y'all, leaving today. And everyone's like, what? Leaving? Where are you going? It's like, yeah, I'm moving abroad. I'm sorry, what? Life Path 1's out here doing it, boy. In terms of, so October's likely to be a month of travel. November's likely to be a month of travel. My money is also on March and April. May and June, it looks like you're kind of stranded. Grounded, should I say, in May at least anyway. June, potentially. Really, really interesting. For December, you have the Magician card. So you're finishing the year just as strong as you started the year. This truly is your tarot card. The Magician card is number 1. That powerful projectile force, that it's not like me first shoving people out the way by their faces. It's me first, as in this is what I have worked for or earned to get to that top spot. December could very well be a month where you are having a very different experience to the one that you had in 2022. And for this, you've got the Fool card. New things, new places, new people. Some of you could be meeting a very powerful person, one that either puts you on or supports you in some way. Maybe somebody that either gives you a really solid, amazing opportunity. But whoever this person is, you're meeting them in a place that is unfamiliar to you. You're meeting them in a new place, so even if it's just travel and it's not necessarily moving abroad, this is like whoever you're connecting to, you're doing this in a way where almost like you're seeing them differently. Do you know what I mean? Like you're seeing the world and people differently. And it's like whoever you're meeting, you're doing this in a place or a space that you've never been before. Your key to the year card, the energy that you need to be aware of for the overarching trend or theme for the year, all right, is the gate 60 and limits. And the beauty of this card is not to say, oh, you're limited and da-da-da-da-da. The message behind this card is you work with what you've got, all right? So the perfect example that I like to give with this card is, like you see those dogs who, they've had spinal damage. The owner's like, I can't let go of my baby. So they make them like a little thing with wheels. And they run around, tongue flapping, ears going, all sorts. And they don't even care. It's like they don't even notice like that half of their body isn't working. They learn to work with what they have to transcend those limits. That's why you've got the tree on there, because it's like whatever your limits are, that's your roots. And if you saw my talk with Denise Matthew, the way that I typify the North Node and the South Node is, the South Node provides, yes, it tends to be very heavy stuff sometimes, but the South Node provides that stable platform for you to kick off so that you can reach the canopy, which is, the branch of the top part of the tree. And so that's what this year really is going to be for you. And I kind of feel like a lot of you are growing beyond what your limitations are. I think this year you're going to break through your own personal glass ceiling. All right, so your challenge months that you do need to be aware of. April is definitely a challenge month. May, only because it's not moving as fast as you would like, and so there could be some sort of that sort of sets in because of it. June is a challenge month, right? You really want to watch out for this. July has the potential to be, but I think it will go either way. September is a challenge month for you. Outside of that, your power months, January, strong start to the year. February, you know, it'll be interesting. March, fantastic month of the year. August, beautiful. October, I actually really like. November, great. December, you finish the year just as powerful, just as strong as you start it. All right. With that said, I wish you an abundance of all of that good stuff. Have a wonderful year ahead. Let me know in the comments how it shapes up. Take care, and I'll see you soon.